Greetings, greetings, greetings. Divine greetings to everyone who has joined in. I hope you all got a chance to listen to some of the lyrics. That is one of my favorite songs. I just want to do a sound check and make sure that everyone can hear me. Can someone send me a chat saying yes, that they can hear me? All right, excellent. All right, big uja to everyone that's out there. Big dua to everyone that joined. We're going to jump right in. Before I jump in with the traditional pouring of libation, I just want to say that song is so powerful. It touches me, it moves me, because, the question is, who are we today? And I love that song because Nas takes us through who we were as a people, building pyramids and living a life of ma'at, a life in divine order. And we have fallen so far from that. And the reason why I'm here tonight and hosting this wonderful show entitled Talks with Goddess Aset is to bring back some of that divine wisdom that we lost so many years ago, so that we can restore our true divine selves and live in peace and prosperity and be the full magnanimous people that we came here to be. And so I'm going to start with the libation. For those of you who are not familiar with libation, we pour libation always in honor, first and foremost, of the Creator, the Creatress, that divine being, that divine life force energy that is responsible for every beat that our hearts make, every inhalation, every exhalation, for keeping the stars and the moon and the sun in the sky, and that which we are of. And so we always pour libation in honor of that force. We pour libation in honor of all of the cosmic energies, those gods and goddesses, those netaru, those creative forces that help sustain our life. And we also pour libation for our ancestors as well. And so we're going to go ahead and do that really fast. And I have my water here in my sistrum. And so you can actually, if you like, you can get on your knee as a sign of reverence, so you can stay where you are and just close your eyes and tap into this vibrational frequency that we are about to call into our space. Adoration to the Creator, that force that creates all things and that lives in all things that are created. We honor you and we thank you for life. We thank you for provision. We thank you for this present moment. We thank you for the wisdom teachings that will flow through all of us, helping us to be better stewards of life, to be better human beings, to be better souls. We love you and we honor you and we pour libation in your honor. We pour libation in honor of all of those forces, those netaru, those orishas, those gods and goddesses that work endlessly on keeping life as we know it, for sustaining our life as we know it. We pour libation in your honor. We pour libation in honor of the elements, earth, water, fire, air. We pray that all those elements are once again purified so that life on this planet can be restored and maintained. We pour libation in honor of all of those ancestors that came before us, those freedom fighters that paved the way for us, those names who we know and the names who we don't know. We honor you and we thank you for the sacrifices that you made so that we can be here and have a better life. We pour libation in your honor. We pour libation in honor of our bloodline ancestors of the past. We pray for light and healing for our ancestors of the past. We pour libation for those ancestors that have returned and that are here once again. We pray for light and healing on their path. We pour libation for those ancestors of the future that will return. May we help to restore ma'at on this planet, so that when they return, and when we return as our own ancestors, that we find a planet that is better than we left it. Aset, Aset, Aset. All right. Blessings to those divine forces that maintain our lives and keep us moving forward. So tonight's show, the very first show in the Talks with Goddess Aset, is on that proverbial topic, that question that we all don't really feel like we need to ask ourselves because we feel like we already know the answer. Who am I? Who am I? I want everyone to just take a moment and ponder on that question. Ask yourself, do I truly know who I am? And if I had to convey that information to someone else, if I had to write it, would it be a couple of pages? Would it be a book? Would it be several volumes of a book? Tonight we're going to be looking at the answers to that question, not from my own personal perspective, although I will chime in my personal experiences in coming to my conclusions surrounding this question. But we're going to jump into the ancient Kemetic Wisdom Teachings that give us signs and instructions and clues for us to really get to the root of answering that question. Who am I? And why is that question important? Because if we don't truly know who we are in the present, we have no control over who we will be in the future. I will repeat that. If we do not truly know who we are in the present, we have no control over who we become in the future. And although all we have is the present, right, from a higher perspective, we still want to use the present to create the future that we want for ourselves. And so I have some PowerPoints I'm going to use to help navigate through this wonderful topic. All right. So in the Kemetic teachings, there's different types of scriptures. And when we look at those scriptures, we find there's different writings about this subject matter of who am I. Uh-oh, hold on. Bear with me. I'm the technical director here as well, so let's get that. See if that does it. All right, there we go. All right, so the first writing that I want to talk about comes from the Four Great Truths, and it's Pa Neter Ua Ua in Nebujer Im Neteru. So it's Pa Neter Ua Ua in Nebujer Im Neteru. And it translates into the Neter, the Supreme Being, is one and alone, manifesting everywhere and in all things in the forms of gods and goddesses. And I remember when I first came into contact with this Kemetic truism, this philosophy, I wanted to cross out the gods and goddesses. I didn't understand how could the supreme divinity be manifesting everywhere and in all things in the forms of gods and goddesses. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, is the rock up the road really a god or a goddess? Is this computer monitor that I'm looking at a god or goddess? And so it took years for me to really understand what that meant on a deep spiritual level. And so we're going to kind of like explore that question, who am I, from this perspective, as well as a few other perspectives. But when we think about ourselves as individuals, we know that there is a force within us that is responsible for us being here. And in Western philosophy, it's definitely not philosophy, but they are finally coming to the conclusion that, yeah, there is something there that's responsible for life. And, they don't know what to call it, so they call it dark matter, or, all the black stuff in the universe, the black stuff at the core of every atom and things like that. I like to refer to that as proof of divine consciousness. And so within all of us, we have this divine consciousness, this supreme consciousness that's running all of those automated aspects of who we are. And so when we're not connected to that, then we only know ourselves as the individual. We don't see ourselves as an extension of the creator. And so this particular truism or Kemetic great truth is letting us know that everything, whether it's an inanimate object or an animated object, at its core is the supreme consciousness, because we all are projections or emanations from that same supreme consciousness. And so we have two major components. We have the soul aspect of who we are, and that aspect of who we are in Kemetic spirituality is depicted as the hawk, right? The being with the hawk head. So it's known as Heru. And so we each have that soul aspect, and that soul is simply a portion of the divine essence. It's an individuated portion, but at the same time, it's one with supreme consciousness, because it's that projection of supreme consciousness. And we're starting really high, we're starting lofty, but we're going to bring it all the way down to a practical level. And then we have that ego aspect, right? So the ego aspect is the individuated expression of the soul, which develops as the personality and character. So right there, we know that we have a dual nature. And this is what this picture is depicting. It's depicting the ego personality that we know as Set, and then the soul aspect of the being known as Heru. And they're both kind of like fighting over who rules over the person. And when we say rule over the person, we're talking about ruling over the will. And so in ancient Kemetic scripture, it talks about this ongoing battle between Set and Heru. So there's this ongoing battle between our ego personality and the soul. And so the ego, when it comes into time and space, when we're born into time and space, if we're born into a culture like the Western culture that does not know how to nurture the soul, then the ego gets nurtured and it grows very strong and powerful, and the soul aspect of the person becomes shrinked and almost inaccessible. And so the impure ego has this hubris nature. It believes that it has the right to be in control of the will. It possesses a personality. It possesses a personality characteristic of foolishness or pride, or dangerous overconfidence, often in conjunction with arrogance. So I want you to kind of like start thinking about yourself, right? We have this ego person. It's who we think we are, this personality, right? I'm outgoing, I'm quiet, I'm shy, you know, I'm this zodiac sign, I'm that zodiac sign, I'm a female. All of these descriptions help to describe the personality, which is really what the ego is, but the personality believes it's the totality of who you are. And so we all are guilty of this arrogant kind of nature when it comes to that question of who are we, right? We all pretty much kind of get a little bent out of shape when someone comes along and calls themselves telling us something about ourselves that we don't know, right? We've all probably had someone try to bring something to our attention about our personality, and we've said things like, I know who I am, or you don't know me. But it's interesting because we do the same thing in regards to other people, and we believe that we have a perspective about that person or their personality that they don't have, but yet we don't believe that other people have a valid perspective about our personalities. And so I call it the I know who I am syndrome. And so it's this the arrogance, the hubris nature that causes conflict between the soul and the ego. So here's a few questions that I want you to start thinking, and these questions I want you to take with you when you leave and start pondering on them. Do you believe that you know your ego personality? And if you want, you can even drop your answer in the chat if you feel like you know it. Do you believe that you know your ego personality based on what I just described? So the personality basically is everything about your character, however you would describe yourself. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I get angry when people treat me like I'm small. I feel confident when I have people cheering me on, all of those things that make up your personality. Do you know how your ego personality was developed? Can you fully describe your existing programming that dictates how your ego behaves? And so one of the things that I'm here to also do is promote the Arat-Ra Reiki healing system, because in this system, we have a process to help those that are working with us to begin to go in and understand how they were created into the person that they are in the present, and how that personality is conflicting with their soul, and how their soul wants and needs to flourish in order for that person to be their fullest, magnanimous, most powerful self. And so that is a part of this whole process, right? Getting to these questions to see, wow, do I really have a full understanding of who I am and how I was made this way? Can you correctly differentiate between your ego and your soul? That's a good one. And again, my goal tonight isn't to answer all of these questions for you. It's to get you to start thinking about these questions, because the system, again, takes you through the process from A to Z to help you get to the root of all of these questions. To know is to have firsthand experience. All of the attempts of knowledge forms accepted ideas and beliefs. And this is important because one of the things that I find, and I found even with myself in the past, and dealing with people in this capacity, helping them to see who they are and grow and evolve spiritually, I find that a lot of people hear things. So they will hear something like, you are the divine, you are a manifestation, you are a god, you are a goddess, you're this, you're that. And what happens is when they hear it again, they'll say, well, I already know that. I know that I'm a divine manifestation. I know that I'm an emanation from supreme consciousness. But to know something is to experience it and to actualize it. It's not to hear it and say, wow, that sounds true to me, I accept it. That's forming a belief. And so we want to get to understanding, how do I actualize that truth, that I am an emanation of the supreme divinity, that I am a god, I am a goddess, right? I am all of those lofty, wonderful things, right? It's not I believe that I am, it's I am. And then then you have to ask yourself, am I really? Am I manifesting that? Am I tapping in to all of those powerful attributes of the Creator that's living in me, hiding in my soul? Or am I mimicking and tricking myself into believing that I am behind my ego personality? So again, the idea is not to accept that this is true. It's to learn how to actualize it and manifest it, and then walk the earth like a god or goddess incarnate. So all throughout Kemetic paintings and artwork, we see eyes all the time, right? Eyes, the left eye, the wajet, the right eye, right? And they have significant meaning within different contexts. But right now, I want us to think about our own eyes, these two eyes sitting in our head, right? They're designed to do what? Look outward. All we're doing is looking outward, right? Because that's what they're designed to do. So how do we get a full handle on seeing ourselves so that we can truly begin to know who we are in the present, so that we can begin to write the script, write the programming that will allow us to manifest that divine self that we say or believe that we are. And even when we look in the mirror, it's a distorted view, right? It's not the full truth. It's not the view that other people see. And so one of the things that I want to encourage everyone that's listening, if it resonates with you, is to really begin having this inner talk with yourself. Do I really have the capacity to know who I am? Do I really have a true understanding of who I am and how I'm functioning and moving throughout the world? Do I know how other people see me? A lot of times when we have confrontation with people or conflict with people, we all do this. I'm guilty of it, right? Let's say you break up with somebody. You get on the phone, you call your friends, your sister, your mother, whoever, and you start talking about that person, all their flaws, right? Oh, he was cheap. Oh, she was lazy. Oh, he has mother issues. Oh, she's a narcissist, right? We start just spilling it because we've been watching that person, right? And so we feel that our perspective is valid, and we just go down the list. How often do we stop and say, wow, I took some time and I reflected, right, on myself, and I realized that I was, a little controlling, or maybe too controlling, or I wasn't trusting because I still had trust issues from previous relationships, right? Do we have the capacity to put all that same amount of energy and reflect inward to see how we contributed to the confrontation or the breakups or whatever conflict that we're having with other people? And so we can do that, but in order to do that, we have to activate and cultivate the inner eye, right? They call it the third eye. I like to call it the first eye, because that's the eye that I want to see with first. I want to see who I am first. I want to understand how I'm triggering other people. I want to understand how other people are being allowed to trigger me. I want to understand how I'm moving in the world, how I'm functioning. I want to know when I'm feeling jealous and envious of someone, and when that happens, how do I treat them? What am I doing? So this is really important. We need to spend a lot of time cultivating that inner eye so that we can begin to see who we are. And Western culture teaches us, it primes us not to do this. It primes us to avoid who we are, especially the things that we perceive to be painful or less desirable. And that's the reason why when someone comes along and they try to point those things out to us, we become very defensive because we don't want to feel hurt, we don't want to feel small. But if we look at it from a different perspective, right? If we look at it as an opportunity to grow and evolve and start moving into that concept of the higher self, allowing the soul to flourish, then we can benefit from other people's perceptions and what they see in interacting with us and dealing with us. So activating and cultivating the inner eye is not an overnight process. Activating and cultivating the inner eye requires consistent work, just like cultivating land. It also requires ma'at, order and structure. We have to have a system. In ancient Kemet, they were able to live in over 10,000 years of relative peace because they had a system that was based off of ma'at, a system that was based off of divine order, divine law, the higher principles of living. And so when we have a society like that, it helps to cultivate the inner eye, the higher consciousness easier. Unfortunately, we did not incarnate into that type of society. So we're constantly going against the grain. We're constantly fighting an uphill battle when we're trying to do this work. And so if you want to be successful at it, you really need guidance. You need a rubric. You need to know how to do it. You need to be able to measure your growth along the way. And the Reiki system is a means to do that for those that system resonates with. And here I have another Kemetic term. It's Nuk. That's also a Kemetic teaching around that question of who am I? And so Nuk means I am that I am. And so when we say I am that I am, a lot of us would say, yeah, I know what that means, that I am that I am, right? I mean, if you think that you know what that means, I would love for you to put it in the chat. What do you think Nuk means, or I am that I am? And I'll talk about it a little bit at the end. So, I want us to begin to realize that we have a distorted view of ourselves. That what we think about ourselves is very limited and probably very distorted. So it's a good idea for us to be open to get honest perspectives from other people. I've been doing this lately, and sometimes it's painful because if the person has the capacity to be truthful, some of the things can hurt because it means, wow, I did that, I made you feel that way, or wow, I thought I was growing and evolving spiritually, but now I got to do this work. But it's very important, and it's unfortunate that we spend a lot of time and energy doing work that really don't matter. Work that will not help us transcend time and space. We spend 40, 60 hours a week chasing the dollar, right? Because we don't trust the supreme divinity within us. That's a whole nother topic, right? And so we don't even really know how to find the time to really do this work. The beautiful thing is once we do this work and we start getting into alignment with the soul, and we put the ego in check where it needs to be, things in your life will start to miraculously unfold. because you will start to move into your divine alignment. You will start to move into your God self, and then you will develop the power to create the world that you want for yourself. As long as it's within your REU, which is another subject, to experience that. So consider getting honest perspectives from other people, but understand that no one perspective is absolute, right? It's their purview. It's from their conscious awareness. It's from the way that they think about things and they see things. But there's still some things that we can draw from it by hearing other people's opinions about us. Understand the nature of the relationship. So when you decide to start asking people, hey, I want to get some feedback from you, make them comfortable, because we've been taught in Western culture, if you tell people the truth, you better watch out because, people will resent you for being truthful. We're better liars and embellishers than truth tellers, right? So understand that, but also understand that the way in which your mother will see you will not be the same way in which your significant other will see you. You will have different relationships. But what your mother will teach you is how you deal with people in authority, per se, or how you deal with women in authority. And so you want to kind of take those things into consideration. You want to understand the nature of other people's perspectives based on the primary personality types that they display when interacting with you. And this is important, and we're going to talk about that on the next slide. Because while we're kind of trying to figure out the personality types of the other people around us and how they trigger us or how we respond to them, we also want to begin understanding our personality types and how they see us. So I just pulled, I think that these are 7 major personality types. They're not all the personality types, but when you're asking people and you're getting people's feedback about who you are from their perspective, again, you want to take into consideration what type of personality you're dealing with, right? Is it an envy, jealousy type of personality? And remember, we feel like we know all that we need to know about other people, right? So if you're dealing with somebody that's envious or jealous of you. We say it all the time. Oh, he's jealous of me or she's jealous of me. But however, that person would die if you told them that, oh, you're just jealous or envious, because who admits that they're jealous and envious of anyone? Right? The sheer nature of jealousy and envy stops you from admitting that you're jealous of someone, right? But if you know that you're dealing with that, some of us are married to spouses that are demonstrating some jealousy and envy, right? You can have a spouse that don't really like to see you up over them. You may start making more money and they may start acting funny. So make an assessment of the type of personality that you're dealing with, because what that's going to show you is how you interact and come off with that particular type of personality. We have the dominant controlling type of person. That used to be me. I'm still working on it. So if you're dealing with someone that's really dominant and controlling and you're getting a perspective from them, you take what you can, extract what's useful. But what you're learning is, this is how I interact and deal with people that are trying to control me or being dominant over me. Aloof and detached people, people who kind of they're not really connected. You have to spell everything out for them. You have the needy, codependent type of people. And some of us probably can start identifying people in our lives right now that can fit these type of personalities. You have the sneaky and conniving type. Sometimes it's a sibling, or whoever. Then you have the narcissistic, dismissive type of personality. And so you want to also begin to figure out where you sit in the spectrum of these personalities, right? Because most of us have been primed, all of us have been primed growing up in Western culture to manifest the negative attributes of the personality. And these are them, So I guarantee you, we all are manifesting at least one, but most of us are manifesting multiple of these negative personality types. And then, every so often we find those supportive, empowering type of people. Those are far and few, and then we try to become those people, hopefully, as we embark on the spiritual journey of raising the soul. And then insightful, impartial people. Those kind of people, you really want them to tell you about who you are, because they're coming from a place of purity. And they're going to give you the feedback that's going to be the most beneficial. But everyone can help you, because, again, they're showing you and teaching you how you interact with that kind of person. The way that I interact with a needy, codependent kind of person, and the way they're going to perceive me will not be the same when I'm dealing with someone that's supportive and empowering. Same thing, if someone that I'm dealing with is jealous and envious of me, they're going to see a different side of me than someone who's insightful and impartial or supportive and empowering. So most of us, like I said, manifest a combination of these, depending upon who we're interacting with and how we were cultivated and formed and molded during those first 7 years of development, which is your root energy center. And again, the Reiki healing system deals with all of this from our energy healing system perspective. All right. So one of the things that I want to impress, when we're really trying to get to the root of who we are, we can't get there without going through the cognitive awareness piece. So that's a little bit of what we're talking about, putting your mind to work to go through the discovery process, to begin getting into your unconscious mind. In the Reiki healing system, I associate your root energy center, your Aset energy center, with your unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind is your program. It is the program that is running you without you knowing it. And it's kind of like, a computer, right? We get on a computer, we just want to send our email or do whatever, and we have no respect or idea that there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of code behind just that mouse click that you did, right, to send your email. And so it's the same way with the unconscious mind. We are functioning and moving throughout, life with no regard, no understanding, and no access to the programming, the millions and millions of lines of code that give rise to every feeling, every word, every thought, right? And so the cognitive awareness piece is critical. This is the kind of work that's required to get to the root of who you are, so that you can get in and write the antivirus programs. When we have viruses on our computers, we say, I got to update my virus, antivirus software. I got to get the downloads. And so the way that those work is someone actually discovered the virus, they exploited the virus for its weaknesses, and then they wrote a program to go in and destroy the virus. And sometimes it can't even be destroyed, it has to be quarantined, right? You've seen that when you do your virus run scans. So in the same vein, this is the kind of work that's required if we really want to fully understand who we are in the present, and then write those virus programs to go in and remove the toxic pieces within our program system that's stopping us from manifesting the beauty of our soul. So right now, today, a lot of people are on the spiritual kick. And so they like to, get the tarot card and the oracle readings. I have people all the time. They want me to just do readings for them. Tell me, is he the one? Is she the one? Right? A lot of people, they get a lot of sound healing, Reiki sessions. I do Reiki, yoga. I teach yoga, lectures, meditation. And these things are all good, but these things are not going to do the work for you. these things do not include the cognitive awareness piece, right? And that's what we're talking about, getting in to the unconscious mind and understanding how you were molded and shaped into the personality that you are, and then doing the work to correct the ill programming. And so these all can augment that, and that's why I do these things to help people on the path to spiritual transformation and tapping into that God consciousness within them, because they actually help it. But you don't want it to become a distraction. So a lot of people will become really busy doing all these things, but they never stop to figure out who they really are and what they're trying to use these things to change about who they are. And so the last Kemetic scripture that I want to talk about in regards to the question, who am I, is this. According to Kemetic scripture, men and women are to become godlike, right? The key word there is become. So in order to become godlike, there has to be a process. There has to be a way to do it. You just don't hear that you are a god, or you are a goddess, or you are an emanation of supreme consciousness, and that do the trick. No. So people who are walking around saying, I know who I am, and I know that I am an emanation of the supreme divinity, if you haven't actualized it by becoming godlike, it is just a belief. And so the Ra Reiki healing system is designed to help those who are ready to discover who they are, or who they have been made into, in order to discover and manifest who they truly are. And so that brings us to the Q&A. And so if anyone has any questions in the chat, you can put them in there now, and I will grab a few and start answering them. Okay, thank you all for the testimonies in the chat. Okay, so if no one has any questions, then I'll wait a couple of more seconds to see if someone's typing. And so if you haven't had a chance to check out the Ra Reiki website, please do so. It's a very informative site. It takes you through everything that I've talked about in terms of the system of how to really begin to manifest your divine self, so it's not a pipe dream. You can actualize it, but it requires work. And when the will is ready, then you will do the work. All right, our next show will be on January 3rd. And that topic will be, let's see, like that. All right, so on January 3rd, the topic will be, what is the purpose of life? And again, when you join the Ra Reiki system by getting into some of the classes, the first thing you do is get your healing session. And your healing session is designed to create a base point. We want to see where you are, and then we go through finding out what's the blockage, what's going on from time of conception up until where you are, and we get to work with getting all of that energy, that blockage, that stale negative energy out of your energy systems. And then we move right into the cognitive piece, helping you understand how the mind can allow all of that energy to return back and close your energy centers down. And then we also have classes. So we do have a meditation class coming up in January. So I invite everyone to check that out. And we also have free support groups. So I look forward to seeing you all on the website or coming through the center, taking some of the classes or getting your healing session if you haven't had one yet. And I'll check to make sure there's no more questions. All right. Goddess Aset, you answered my question when you pointed out it's a process. All right, dua. All right, well, light, love, and peace and joy. Light, love, peace, and joy to all of your wonderful souls for taking your time to share this space with me. I appreciate you all. And I send light, love, and healing energy to all of you, and including myself. Ankh Uja Seneb, life, vitality, and health. Hetep, divine peace. Good night.